It's been a very busy and challenging year so far, and we faced many difficulties. However, I look forward to the coming year with great optimism. I have a quote by Max Dupree who said, "The first responsibility of a leader is to define reality. The last is to say thank you, and in between, the leader is to be a servant." I've always been taught that. Leadership is about service. It's not about self-service. I believe a true leader is one who serves others. It involves the sacrifice of time, talents, and self. I truly believe that this year's leadership team of committee chairs, vice chairs, division heads, local presidents, and officers are all true servant leaders. As I look around this room, I'm so proud of the number of you that were in my Leadership Academy class. I have like 3 local state presidents, a real estate commissioner. So go class of 2005. What a great class. Remember the hurricane children. I'm also thrilled that the number of others that have attended the program have also inspired the leadership and are now coming up in the ranks. I'd just like to say that, you know, how many here have attended the leadership program? I'd like to get a great bunch of people. I also believe that we have a great staff, and I commend them on their tough choices they made this year. You know, many had to cut budgets. They had additional workload due to the cutting of staff, and I just thank you for your dedication and continued support. If you indulge me for a few minutes, many of you know I've actually served on a few other boards before this one. I was former president of 4A Youth. We did after-school tutorial and nutritional programs for at-risk children in some of the poorest parishes in the state of Louisiana. That was a great challenge. However, the greatest challenge I faced was during the formation of the Children's Advocacy Center. I was on the state board, and I also worked alongside with the Children Court-Appointed Special Advocacy, the CASA program. I'm sure many of you are familiar with that. Our goal was to minimize the trauma a child faced that had been sexually or physically abused and had been subject to the hands of the system. We have to realize that while everyone in the process were doing an individual job, the child was being shifted around between agencies, repeatedly having to undergo multiple interrogations, reliving the ordeal over and over again. After all, they all had their job to do, to help the child, and yet the child was harmed in the process. The medical staff needed to address the child's physical needs. The social workers wanted to address his mental needs. The Office of Child Protection wanted to protect the child's environment. Law enforcement wanted to investigate a crime. The court system wanted a conviction. Now, you all have to realize by the description, they were doing their jobs. But somehow, the most important item of the whole process, the child, was lost in the middle of this. So the first thing we had to do, we formed a multidisciplinary task force to taught people. And we taught them when you come together for the good of the child, you have to shed those various identities that you bring to the table. You have to realize that the ultimate goal is serving that child. Now, while I realize what we do isn't quite that important, and we don't deal with those issues that way, I believe there's lessons to be learned in this. When we walk into these meetings as state leaders, and we serve in this association, we're no longer with a particular firm. We're no longer with a group, or a region, or our own interest. We now represent the member, the realtor. It's an extremely hard thing to do to leave these many identities behind, especially those of self, at the door when we make decisions that might not be in our own best interest. Many of you might have noticed that when I'm called upon to lead in a prayer, I always ask to please be getting wisdom. I believe that wisdom is the most important part of leadership. For those of you who believe in prayer, I would appreciate yours in this coming year and to ask to please grant me wisdom. In light of the many issues facing our association today, we are called upon to have the wisdom of Solomon. If you remember the story of Solomon, he was considered the wisest of all rulers. One day 2 women were fighting over a child, and they brought the child to Solomon. Solomon, in his great wisdom, said, "Cut the child in half, divide it between the mothers." One of the ladies jumped up and said, "Wait a minute, I'd rather not see the child harmed, give it to her." Another one said, "If I can't have it, you can't have it either." Solomon decided, he said, "I know who the real mother is. Give to the child, to the woman who is willing to give the child up." Upon hearing this, we realized, and we have to realize that a lot of times we have to do what's best for the child. We have to do what's best for the association. And I truly believe that the team we put together this year has and possesses that kind of wisdom. I believe that leadership can be enjoyable. I believe that a group of strong personalities with different opinions can work together for a common cause And even while making tough decisions, have great respect and admiration for each other and produce the right results. Dwight Eisenhower once said, "You do not lead by hitting people over the head. That's assault, not leadership." I will expect those in leadership this coming year to adhere to those ideals. I need to also comment on our political involvement. Each and every one of you need to be engaged in this political arena. Small business owners, independent contractors, entrepreneurs, we face increased government interference this year. Many different levels are coming after you. From regulation to taxation, we are under attack. Your liberty and freedoms are eroding before you. Please get involved in the political system. Before we leave, I have to give thanks to my wife, Alice, sitting up here. We grew up together. We've known each other since our childhood. She's my best friend, my eternal love. And without her servant heart that she possesses of sacrifice, it would be impossible for me to volunteer my time and my talents and my resources to you. I love you very much. Thank you, always and forever. Thanks again, Governor General and his wife for allowing us to use their residence. I would also like to thank each and every one of you for your confidence in me. I promise to do the very best I can. It is a high honor and privilege to serve as 2010 president of this association. Thank you and have a very good day.